One of the most anticipated vaccines in India is Covovax, manufactured by the Serum Institute. Covovax is in fact Novavax. It will be called Covovax once it's manufactured here. Now, results of Novavax indicate fantastic efficacy of 90% plus against COVID, and now the real battle is perhaps to roll out the vaccine as soon as possible. Joining us now on NDTV for a very special interview, Stanley Erck. He's the President and CEO of Novavax. Thanks very much, Mr. Erck, for being with us. I think, we've got so many questions from our viewers. We've thought up some questions ourselves. So the first one is this: when will Novavax be introduced in the Indian market?
Well, great question. We're working very hard to introduce the vaccine on a global basis, and we partnered up with the Serum Institute because we thought that they would be the best global partner to get the vaccine around the world. And so we started tech transfer with them late last year. We've developing the process. We've conducted clinical trials that show that the vaccine, as you point out, the vaccine works extraordinarily well in phase 3 trials in the UK and in the US. We are in the last stages of preparing all of the clinical data, the safety data, and now the manufacturing data that has to go into a licensing package. And our expectation is that package will be complete very soon, certainly in the coming quarter.
Yeah. Have regulatory approvals for Novavax in the U.S. been delayed?
They have. We've been delayed a bit because we had all along we've had some troubles getting raw materials to make the product, to scale up, and to develop assays, because we started this process a year ago without any manufacturing capabilities and process development capabilities. So while we were running and getting clinical efficacy data and clinical safety data, we were way behind on the manufacturing data. So we had to run fast to build up that capability. And in part, that's why we partnered with Serum Institute, because they have those capabilities. So we're getting there. It took a bit longer than we had hoped, but in both the U.S. and in the UK and in Europe and in India, all of those processes are coming together at roughly the same time.
And so what's the time period within which you expect regulatory approvals?
Well, we are hoping for regulatory approval, particularly in India, in the third quarter. MHRA, the UK, and Europe, we expect about the same time in the third quarter. The US will be a bit longer because they've put in a process that says once you get to that stage where you submit your regulatory package, we want you to take another 30 days, an extra 30 days, for us to process the data before you ask for emergency use. So that adds on another month to the U.S. on top of everybody else.
Right. Would India's emergency use authorization depend on this vaccine by being cleared elsewhere in the world? If not in the U.S., then in Europe or in any other regulator? Is that how it would work?
We think not. We think it's possible that the DCGI regulatory process will be independent of the other regulatory processes.
That's interesting. Now, again, another big question: does Novavax work against the Delta and the Delta Plus variant, which we are now reporting in India?
No, that's a great question. And in the trial that we just finished in the U.S., and it's important to note, we're the only company that has done large efficacy trials where there have been variants circulating. The early vaccines were done primarily in areas where you had the original Wuhan strain. So we're the only ones that have a vaccine data against the UK variant and some of the other variants worldwide. What we don't have, and just to point out, what we showed is that we have very high rates of efficacy when there are variants circulating. We had 100% protection against moderate and severe disease, and we were 93% protective against the variants that were circulating in our U.S. trial. What we did not show is anything against Delta, because Delta was not circulating during our trial. So we don't have those data yet, and so time will tell.
And so there are more tests being done to determine the efficacy against Delta. Is that something that's simultaneously happening now?
I think it is, and I think what our hope, and based upon the data that we have against a variety of variants, is that we will have a significant amount of efficacy against Delta. I just can't tell you what that number is yet because we have not been in the trial where Delta has been circulated.
So tell us a little bit in terms of the manufacturing process here in India. How many doses do you expect to manufacture in India for India? And how important is this manufacturing for Gavi and for other countries around the world?
Yeah, I think that's really an important question because the partnership is going to allow us to very rapidly scale up production. And without having made any decisions of which product goes to India versus some other countries, we actually paired up Serum Institute and Novavax and made a bargain, a contract with this group called Covovax to supply them 1.1 billion doses between Serum and Novavax. And so that our forecast for production is that between the two of us, we will be producing as many as 100 million doses a month by the end of the third quarter, by the end of this next quarter, and up to 150 million doses a month by the end of the fourth quarter of next year. So that allows us to get to the range of 2+ billion doses during 2022.
Yeah. And how much would each dose cost?
Well, it depends on where you make it, but we have taken the strategy of having tiered pricing so that we will price to the lowest economic countries. They'll get the lowest price in the low single dollar price per dose, and that will go up for middle income countries and for high income countries.
And it's the same price for the first and second dose, right?
Same price for both doses.
All right. So in India, we've got Covishield, again manufactured by SII, which is about 200 odd rupees. So this would be a bit more pricey than that, right?
It's likely to be somewhat more pricey than that, yes.
Right. And as you mentioned, it's tiered. So when it goes to countries which are perhaps more wealthy, then it would be priced higher. Is that correct?
That's right. It's what we call equitable, equitable market access. Yes, equitable pricing. Based upon the ability to afford it.
So just one or two more questions. We don't talk, certainly in our country, about the need to vaccinate children enough. So the question is this: will this be effective for kids as well?
Yeah, we certainly believe it will be. In fact, both we and Serum Institute are conducting trials in adolescents and in 12 to 17-year-olds. We've got a trial going on. And I believe in India we'll be starting a trial in kids that are 2 to 17 years old at the same time. So it's very important to vaccinate young kids and adolescents.
And thus far you believe that, on the basis of the data you've seen, that it works as effectively for children and safely, most importantly?
We think it should be. We believe that we have a couple of advantages to our products, which include some of the best efficacy numbers of any vaccine. But we also have probably the most benign safety profile, and that should translate not only in adults but into children. And we have the added advantage that our vaccine is very stable and therefore can be shipped at standard refrigerated temperatures as opposed to having to freeze the vaccine.
So, everyone talks about mRNA vaccines, and that's great, but, you've got a slightly older technology which is as effective and perhaps more robust, certainly in transportation, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right. Well, just a final question. The transfer of technology to Serum, the entire process of ramping up manufacture, how much of a challenge is that for you?
Well, in the beginning, we weren't sure because, of course, like all research projects, we start making product at let's say the 1 liter scale, but we knew to supply globally this product, we had to get into manufacturing containers that were maybe 4,000 or 6,000 liters, and we knew that would be a challenge. But we have now successfully made very high scale product at all of our facilities. So that's really important.
All right, Mr. Erck, thank you very much for speaking to us. There is a great deal of anticipation about this vaccine in India. We need vaccines and in sizable numbers. Hopefully this should be here sooner than later. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.